do a 10-second countdown. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3,
I like Richard.
1. So can y'all hear me? Okay. So
Yes.
Council Chairman Roten got called away and Councilmember Lee is available. So Councilman Roten asked me to chair the committee today. Let's start by calling roll. Councilmember Henderson.
Present.
Councilmember Roten and Lee are not. Councilmember Mendez.
Here.
Councilmember O'Connell.
Here.
Here. Councilmember Vercher.
Here.
Councilmember Welsh.
Here.
Okay. Great. Okay, we have 6 present. I'd like to make a motion pursuant to Governor Lee's Executive Order number 16 regarding electronic meetings extended by Executive Orders number 34 and 51, and make a motion that this committee meeting agenda constitutes essential business of the Metropolitan Council, and that meeting electronically is necessary to protect the health, safety, and welfare of Tennesseans in light of the COVID-19 outbreak. A second, please.
Second.
Second. Discussion, all in favor? Any opposed? All right. We have one resolution, RS 2020-480 by Glover and Swoop, provides amendments to the charter of the Metro government in accordance with Article 19, Section 19.01 thereof, setting forth a brief description of each amendment to be placed upon the ballot. The motion.
I'd like to move to defer indefinitely, please.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion seconded, on to discussion. Is Councilmember Glover here? He is not.
He is not here, so actually under Rule 33, I think it would be a deferral by rule.
I do see Councilmember Swope at least on the.
Oh yeah, we do have a sponsor here.
Okay.
Officially, I'm not in this meeting, gentlemen.
Okay, well.
Yeah, I don't think that.
Chair, what does that mean?
I don't know if standing in the room and saying I'm not here counts.
I mean, it's like walking out the door, I suppose.
Okay. So we're on discussion. Councilmember O'Connell.
Point of order. Can we ask Mr. Cooper whether we're still deferred by rule or whether we can have discussion?
I'm not sure about is the co-sponsor still in the meeting or yeah, I don't know if you can be in the meeting and not in the meeting virtually.
And Mr. Cooper, doesn't Rule 33 apply to council meetings themselves?
No, it applies to committee recommendations on legislation, and if a sponsor has to attend the meeting or send a letter requesting some action, otherwise it's deferred by rule.
Okay.
Further point of order, if I may, Mr. Rosenberg. So, Mr. Cooper, while the motion to defer indefinitely was made, a co-sponsor was in the meeting. So it's a valid motion, right?
I've never seen the situation before, but there was a sponsor in the meeting at the start of the meeting anyway.
And when the bill was called and when Councilmember Mendez's motion was made, I'm sorry, Councilmember O'Connell's motion was made. Okay.
Point of order, Chair. So, I mean, my question is somewhat in line with Councilman Mendez's. I mean, I certainly think for the benefit of the public, it always behooves us to have some discussion before we indefinitely defer something. But additionally, I think Councilman Swope, as a co-sponsor, was clearly here. And so he knew the motion had been made. And so I'm going to struggle with this a little bit because I think procedurally we are in the right from a point of order perspective, but I also just want us to be mindful that for a discussion like this that is somewhat fraught, the perception of the community if we defer it indefinitely without discussion. Anyway, I just apologize. I said that perhaps.
Thank you, Councilmember Henderson. To your point, we still have discussion pending. Nobody's called the question on the motion or anything like that, so we still have discussion going on.
Okay.
And to be clear, I only made the motion to defer indefinitely because I saw Councilmember Swope's name on the board for participants, right? So I did this observing a sponsor present. I would not have moved it had I not seen a sponsor present.
Right. Okay, let's move on to discussion of the motion. Without any kind of objection to that. Councilmember O'Connell, is your hand raised for that purpose?
No, sorry, it was raised to make the motion in the first place. I will take it down.
Okay, Councilmember Mendez?
Thank you, Chair. I seconded this motion. I mean, we live in an era where it's difficult to have some conversations without them getting stilted and be deemed hyper political. So I'm trying to say this in as an objective way as possible. Most of this appears to be poor policy and frankly, sour grapes from the budget process. And of the 4 amendments proposed, the first one potentially violates state law and would be bad policy because it wouldn't give Metro enough flexibility to fix dramatic budget holes. The sponsors both voted for a tax increase almost 4 times the size of what they would limit us to in the charter. It's just not good policy. The second one about having the council set revenue, like even Congress, that's something they do right. They use the office, the OMB, to set revenue. They don't have the actual legislators setting revenue. The charter was set to have the director of finance do it to make it as apolitical as possible in a political environment. And the third amendment about limiting the mayor's executive orders to 30 days. There's already extensive law that limit the scope of things that a mayor can do by executive order. Just on balance, this is bad policy to the point where I'm 100% confident the Charter Revision Commission is going to recommend no on all of this stuff if they get a chance to hear it. I've talked to multiple commission members already. They're lawyers that I know for the most part. Multiple former legal directors. They're going to vote no on it. We should just get rid of this now and not have a debate over bad policy going forward.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Henderson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to support or speak in support of the indefinite deferral because I think as a committee, charter revision is very serious, and I think we need to have a very open, transparent, council engaged process. We only get a few bites of this apple per term. And so, I want to, as a committee member, make sure that we are kind of comprehensively addressing anything we need to do in the charter that would be a technical amendment or that represents the broader will of the body. And as our committee has not yet met before or really kind of engaged this space, I do feel like this is somewhat out of order as to best practice of how the Charter Revision Committee might work. And for that reason, I will support the indefinite deferral.
Thank you, Councilmember. I don't see any other hands. Speaking for myself, I've got a number of concerns, both with the substance and style of this. We are allowed to pass 2 resolutions per term. I know that there are some, there's at least one department that wants to put forth a substantive amendment that addresses the way Metro works, other things in the hopper, and over 3 years left in the term. Also, the language of this suggesting a special election, a special countywide election, would not just, setting aside the large cost of those, it seems like issuing from the start the intention to have that date seems like an attempt to have as limited an electorate as possible in the shadow of the November election and a special election instead of taking advantage of an existing election. And I know that's something that's been done in the past. I would also point out, in addition to what Councilmember Mendez mentioned about the limited rate, the politicizing of revenue, I consider myself fairly intelligent and have absolutely no qualification whatsoever to suggest what our revenues are going to be now or in the future. But the Third Amendment suggests that an executive order would expire after 30 days unless extended by the mayor. Using this term as an example, if the mayor were to issue on September 6th, an executive order, or even September 7th, that would expire on the 7th of September, which would mean that, no, I'm sorry, if he does it on the 7th, on the 6th, it would expire on the 5th of September, which means to not have it lapse, we would need to be able to vote on it. Our only opportunity to vote to extend it would be on September 15th, which means that legislation would have to be timely filed by basically the day that he issues the executive order. And that's not realistic. And then an amendment suggesting that no committee chair, the committee chair doing a great job at, running the budget or something like that, would not be allowed to ever chair that committee again, is pretty absurd. So I think we have a lot of process problems and substance problems here, and I'm going to support the motion as well. Is there any further discussion? Can you all either raise your hands, or if you don't have the ability to do that, just chime in? Seeing no further discussion, we are ready to vote, and it'll take a 2/3 vote. Will all in favor of the motion to defer indefinitely, please raise your WebEx hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 5. All those who wish to oppose, please raise your WebEx hand. See 1. And I think that's all the members here, but just for the sake of completion, any abstentions? All right. That is 5 in favor of indefinite deferral, 1 opposed. Unless anybody's got anything further, we are adjourned. Thank you.